Hello, everyone. It's 8 o'clock here, East African time. Good to have each and every one of you on this call. And mic check. Please confirm if you can hear me. If you can hear me, probably just use the smiley button or drop a chat in the chat box so that I can know that you can hear me. Welcome to Building It Live, right? This is a tech series, a webinar tech series courtesy of Axiom by Walure. Just for us to get started, there's a number of things that we're going to do to cheer ourselves up and to dive right into the session. Yeah, so Axiom is an academy based on Westlands in Nairobi. So basically, what we do is we equip people with technology skills that grant access to technology. We offer both corporate trainings and individual training. So if you are curious to know what Axiom is about, I'm sure by the time you check our Instagram pages, you're going to get to know the kind of programs that we offer so far. Right? So our trainings are personalized and we have a vision statement to be the leading tech and talent provider in Kenya. So basically, what we are trying to do is we're trying to equip a lot of people with technology skills so that they can get hired. And also, our mission statement is to empower individuals and organizations with access to real opportunities in tech. Um, if you don't know, tech is in global demand. Tech is the next new oil, right? Tech is the next best thing that is happening to each and every one of us. So yeah, so one thing that we usually do at Axiom is we usually get to synergize with people. We like to know where you are joining us from, right? So it is actually very, very important to know where people are joining us from. I guess on the call, I can see a number of people on this call. So just to start, I would, all right, media from Ghana here. So please, wherever you're joining from on this call, you can make use of the chat box and write where you're joining from. Right? It is very, very imperative that we do this so that we can know where people are joining from. How you might be surprised that you might have your neighbor on the call, right? Please join and share on the call. All right, let's keep it coming. I can see Tez from Kenya. All right, I can see Tez from Kenya. Please let's keep it coming. Let us know where you're joining from. And to move to the agenda of the day, right? My name is Olamide. You can call me Mide, right? I have over 7 years experience in getting people into tech, right? So I would say in my short career, I've been able to transform over getting over 5,000 people into tech through trainings, through internships, and two different means, right? The goal for us at Axiom is to empower people with tech. So, if you're curious to know what I look like, I guess this is my face, and this is also my face on camera, right? So, on today's webinar, we'll be talking about data analytics, which is Excel, SQL, and Power BI. Also, if you're curious to know what data works, the Getting into Tech series here by Axiom will actually help you clarify that, right? So, and also on the call, I have my colleague, Olivia. Hi, Olivia, are you on the call?
Hi, yes, I am on call. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining our live today.
All right. If you have been following Axiom, right, I'm very sure you have probably seen Olivia's face with her lovely smile, right? She's keen on helping people get into tech, supporting them, and all of that. On the call, we have Godswill, and hold on. Also on the call, we have somebody who is also passionate about technology. Teslie, are you on the call?
Yes.
Hi, do you want to say hello to people?
Hello. My name
Okay.
is my name is Tez, and I'm also a tech enthusiast.
Oh, okay. So, everyone, it's safe to say it's good to have Tez on the call. So we have Tez on the call. We have Olivia on the call, right? Tez, she is actually a big enthusiast of the tech world, and also we have Olivia. Olivia is my colleague. Olivia has always helped us in generating and getting people into tech. So if you are curious to know what we do at Axiom, we always help people get into tech, right? So if you are keen on getting into tech, Axiom is where you should be looking at. So there's something we usually do. I'm curious to know what you are, right? What describes you, right? So you can also make use of the chat box in terms of writing A, B, C, or D. A, curious beginner. B, mid-career switcher. C, student. D, already in tech but exploring, right? So I mean, we all have different paces. We are all at different stages of our life. So it's good to know which of the categories that we are, right? So let me say myself, I am A, right? It's good to see Asha from Kenya. Good to see Dennis from Kenya. Lamek Ubino from Kenya. Good to see Jose Brazo from Kenya. Yeah, I can see Asha. I said C. Mary. I said A, right? So it means Asha and Mary, curious beginner, also a student, right? So guys, keep it coming, right? The essence of this is to actually help you to know what works for you, right? Tess says she's already in tech, but also exploring, right? So we can see that we're all different people with different experiences and with different opinions, right? So on the call, we have Godswill. Godswill is a data analyst and also a data scientist. Godswill have over 7 years experience in the data space, right? So for those of you that have been curious about what a data analyst does, for those of you that have opened an Excel file and all you just see is numbers, guys like Godswill are here to actually help you put things together in perspective. Mic check, Godswill, are you on the call?
A very good evening. I'm on the call with you.
All right. So if you're curious to know what a data analyst does, right? So every information that we see across different platforms, right? A data analyst has worked on them that has made it have meaningful information, right? So got you, right? I guess you can get started. This is going to be a practical session. So if you are keen on learning, I would say get your pen. You're definitely going to have an experience, right? And I mean, sit tight and you can probably get a pen to take some notes. Godswill, over to you.
Okay, thank you so very much. It's actually a pleasure to be here with every one of us joining from Kenya and other countries represented. Thank you so very much. Now, I will begin to ask some rhetorical questions. Now, let me make some assumptions. I have a background in economics, and assumptions are something we are so familiar with. Now, let's imagine, because basically today we'll be building life. For some of us, we've been hearing about data analytics and the world of data, and we are wondering what actually does it mean. So I want us to create a scenario. So let me say, imagine tomorrow, you woke up and someone transferred 5 million Kenya shillings to you, and you expected to start a supermarket. Now, I know there are several decisions to make. Now, one of them could be to rent a shop, another could be to buy products, employers who work for you, customers will start buying. Now, 3 months down the line into this business is erected, if somebody comes around to ask you, as a business person who now owns a supermarket, which product, is making you the most money, I bet you will not give the right answer. Now, assuming another person walks in and the person is asking you, which branch should you expand, seeing how the business is thriving, you also might not have the answer for it. So one might also want to know, why are sales dropping every Wednesday from this supermarket? That's my observation. You might not have an answer to that. Now, you don't have an answer not because the information doesn't exist, but the reason why you don't have an answer is because it is hidden in your data. And permit me to let us know that data is the oil of the 21st century. So at present, whether an organization or businesses or institutions, everything that has to do with success, sustainable growth and development rises and falls on data. So tonight we will not just be talking about data analytics, we will be building it live. So I have a data set for us to go through. So shortly I'll be sharing my screen for that. So we'll be basically making use of 3 tools, which a data analyst should be so much grounded with. Now, I also want us to note that the core role of a data analyst is not to use tools, but basically to solve business problems. So we'll be seeing the tools that, give a data analyst the opportunity to be able to drive business decisions, leveraging on the strengths hidden in the data he or she is working with. So let me begin to share my screen so that we can get started. So confirm if you can see my screen. Confirm if you can see my screen. Can we all see my screen now? Okay. So I have a data set here. And now by the end of this section, we'll see how ordinary numbers, become business decisions using 3 tools. And that's the tools we'll be focusing on: Microsoft Excel, SQL, or otherwise referred to as SQL, and then the Microsoft Power BI. So let's begin. Now, I will begin first of all by mentioning that many people often think, that data analytics is about mathematics. Others think it's about programming. Well, neither is completely true. So data analytics is not just mathematics, it's not just programming, but data analytics, put simply, is just the process of asking questions and then letting data answer those questions. So data analysis is simply the process of asking questions and letting data answer those questions. Now think about a doctor. If a patient walks into the hospital, the doctor doesn't just wait. He asks questions, takes the patient's temperature possibly, looks at laboratory tests, finds patterns, makes diagnosis, and then makes a strong decision based on that. Businesses also act in the same way. So for the businesses, their laboratory results are called data. So analytics basically helps us diagnose before making decisions. So that's where the strength of data analytics lies. Now, the goal is not charts. For some of us who are familiar to some extent about data and charts, so the goal is not charts. The goal is better decision. Now, I have a data set with me here, which we'll be using to work with. Now, in this data set, let's imagine we are owning a small supermarket with branches. So we have some branches in Nairobi, we have some branches in Mombasa, we have some branches in Kisumu. Now, over the past 10 days, we are recording ourselves. But now the question is, can we learn anything useful from only the 10 rows of data we have? Somebody might be saying, this thing is too small. Is there anything we can actually learn from this? So let's basically find out. So this is the data set we have. It's having several columns. It has the date column, the branch column, the product column, category column, quantity, unit price, cost in Kenya shillings, payment method, and then the sales representative. So Excel as a tool is where many analysts start. Now, raw data is useful, but clean data is powerful. First, let's look around the data set we have. This is just an entry. Excel doesn't yet recognize this to be a table, which we'll be needing to work with. So we are needing to do some transformation to see if there are inconsistencies, and then see how to handle that, because your output, your decision is highly influenced by the extent of how clean your data is. So if you have a bad data, a messy data, it generally means that whatever decision you'll be making will be messy. But if you have a data that is clean, then that means you are having a powerful tool to make decisions that will move the business further. So having mentioned that, we will need to push this and then get it set for analysis. So the first thing we need to do is to leverage on the Microsoft Excel Power Query to transform this into a table we can work with. So to do that, I will just select the whole of this, come to the data tab. From table/range, I will select this option from table/range, which will launch us into the Power Query editor, which is a very powerful tool Microsoft has embedded in Excel to help us clean and transform our data. So the interface should open now. So this is the Power Query editor. So we want to go through our data set to see whether there are some inconsistencies, whether there are things that need to be cleaned. Now, looking at the data set we have, the date column is giving us date as well as time, but it wouldn't be proper for us since all the time is 0000, so we needed to clean that. So to give the proper data type, we click on the button very close to the name of the column, which is this. So instead of date and time, which is the one we are seeing, we will select date. So we have to replace that. So the correction has been effected. So when you take at the right pane, we are seeing apply set. So each of the adjustments we are making, each of the transformations we are making is being tracked here. So that if there is any need to go back to a previous step, you easily do that. So let's take order of the data set we are having. So I think everything is consistent. There are no issues. So since there are no issues, let's jump in to Excel to continue what we are doing. So when we are done transforming and cleaning and there is no other thing to do, we are meant to click on the close and load option here, close and load. So it brings us back to the Excel, but this time around, it turns that entry into a table. So if you look at this section under file, you are seeing table name. So for table name, let's give it a name. Let me say possibly sales. Let's call it sales. So that when we'll be needing to import it into some other tools, it will be very easy to know the table we are working with. So currently now this is a table we can work with. So like I made mention, Excel is a very powerful tool for cleaning, for transformation. But when we are needing to carry out some analysis, summations, aggregations on the data we have, as the database increases, Excel is no longer an option. So that's why we'll be leveraging on SQL, otherwise called SQL. But for this evening, we'll be using the MySQL workbench, which is a database, a relational database that we'll be using to query our database to find out some of the hidden insights in our data. Now, if we are looking at this data we have in Excel, and somebody is to be asked, can you tell me which branch is making the highest profit just by looking? Now, it might be looking so cumbersome, especially when the data set is too large. So that's why Excel provides us what we call pivot table. So to insert a pivot table, you need to create, click on any section within the data set. On the insert tab, you will see option for pivot table. So when we select this, the region that our data set falls in is being selected, and then we leave it as this default setting and click OK. So this is the pivot table. And pivot table actually helps us to see a quick summary of the data we have. So let's check out, branch against sum of profit. So let's drag the branch. These are the columns we have. Let's drag the branch to the row, and then the payment. Let's take payment. So when we are looking at this, leveraging on the pivot table, we are noticing that, wow, when it comes to payment, Kisumu is 3, Mombasa is 3, Nairobi also is 3, giving us a total of 10. So we are taking count of payments against branches. So from this, we are noticing that the highest payment is coming from Nairobi. And then there is a tie between Kisumu and Mombasa. But now, as the data increases, Excel is no longer the best option for us to query our database to generate insight. And that's why I'll be taking us into the MySQL workbench to see how that is done. So I'm opening the MySQL workbench for that purpose. Now, the same data we have there, we are having in our MySQL workbench. And for MySQL workbench, you need to create a database, use this syntax, create database, then name the database, and you are needing to run it. So when we run this, the database is created. The next thing we have to do is to give SQL a command to use this database. Because if we just create the database and we don't give it the command to use it, it's still redundant. So to activate the database we created, we need to use the use function. So if I run this, I'm seeing a green check, meaning it is successful. So having given it the instruction to use the database we created, the next thing now will be to create the table. So this table will be comprising of all the columns we have. So this basically is the syntax for want of time. So when I run this syntax, the database table is created, having all of these columns, but there are no contents here. So for us to have the exact content we have, we need to use the insert into command. So with this insert into command, we're having exactly the same details we have. So if I run this now, all the necessary rows have been inserted. Now, when one is done creating a database, it's usually a very good practice to check if what you've done is actually what you were thinking of doing. So to do that in SQL, we have the select command. So when you introduce the select with asterisk, you are simply telling the database, I'm selecting everything from, you now mention the name of the table. So that's basically what select asterisk from cells implies. Now, whenever you are done giving any command in the database in SQL, you must close it with a semicolon. So if I run this now, it's going to show me the database that's created. So this table comes out. And if you remember, if we go back to what we have here, you notice that it's exactly the same content, but this time around in a relational database. So this is confirming that what actually we saw in Excel is also what we are seeing here. Now, there are some calculations we need to do. When it comes to business, revenue is good, but profit is better. It is only through our profit in a business that we can be able to pay salaries of workers. So that's why not just the revenue, but the profit is essential. So let's calculate the revenue and profit. And to do that, this is syntax. So we are selecting these several columns. That's why I listed them. So select the product column, the quantity column, the unit price column, the cost price column, and then we want to multiply the quantity with the unit price, and then want it to return the name, that is this calculation, we want it to return it as revenue. So give it a name, revenue, as well as quantity times unit price minus cost price, and return the result as profit. So when we run this, the database returns the revenue and the profit. So this is the revenue and this is the profit. Like I mentioned, the revenue is good, but profit is better because businesses grow by profit. Yes, for investors, what they might be looking at is revenue. But to determine the success or the failure of the business, the ability to meet their expenses, the profit is what we look at. So having calculated the profit, we can also look into some hidden aspects of this data. So let's take the total revenue by product. So let's take the revenue we are getting by product. So if I run this now, so this is the total revenue by product. So looking at this, we are seeing that cooking oil is giving us a very high revenue, followed by rice, followed by milk, followed by sugar, followed by bread. We can also look at profit by branch. Profit by branch. So if we run the whole of this same task, we will be seeing the profit by branch. So looking at this, we are noticing that Nairobi and Kisumu, the total profit we are getting from them is higher compared to that from Mombasa. So the high profit we are getting is basically from Nairobi and Kisumu. So these are hidden insights which querying the database is allowing us to do. So let's also check out for the quantity sold by product. Quantity sold by product. So quantity sold by product. If I run this, so I'm noticing that when it comes to quantity sold by product, bread is having the highest total unit sold, followed by milk, followed by rice, and then followed by sugar and cooking oil. We can also decide to take payment method, so sales by payment method. Each of the payment methods are people using much more than the other. So if we run this syntax, it will help us to know the payment method. So looking at this, we are noticing that M-Pesa as a payment method and cash is having traffic when it comes to this business. That people are not necessarily using card, just two transactions. So the high of the transactions are from M-Pesa and cash. So we can go on and on to be deriving insights, leveraging on the database, coding the database to get that. But now, management, executives, they are not interested in each time coming here to be looking at this table, looking at columns and rows. They want something that, at a glance, it can be speaking volumes to them. And you know that humans naturally are audiovisual in nature. And that's why we'll be leveraging Microsoft Power BI, which is a business intelligence tool, to visualize these findings, to communicate this insight. So we'll be opening the Microsoft Power BI to share the report of the findings we are getting from this data set. So I will be opening the Microsoft Power BI to import this file we are working with, and then we come up with visuals that will tell stories much more better than just, showing the management tables and columns and giving them just mere numbers, which might not necessarily interest them. So I will go ahead to open the Microsoft Power BI. So this is the Microsoft Power BI, this is the interface, these are the ribbons. So quickly, I will be needing to import the data set. And for me to import that, I will need to save this data set. So let me go ahead to save the data set. So since it's the first time, I will use save as. So I want to save it inside my PC so that I can be able to locate it. So let me browse and save it somewhere I can easily. So let's save it inside Axiom building. So for this, let's give it a name. Let's call it self-fill. So that's the name of the workbook. So the name is changed at the top section. You are seeing the name has been changed from book 1 to 12. So giving a name to this. So we can actually go ahead to import this into our Microsoft Power BI. So this is the Microsoft Power BI. So for us to import this, since it's an Excel file, there is already a direct connection with Microsoft Excel into the Microsoft Power BI. You can actually decide to follow the route of clicking on the drop down on Get Data, and you are seeing several options. So let's click on Excel Workbook, since the file is saved as Excel Workbook. Okay, so let's locate the file. So this is the file, exactly, the cell. Now, with Excel, we've been able to clean and do some transformations in the data, and then we've used SQL to ask questions from our database. But now, imagine the CEO of this supermarket. Are we going to be reading an Excel query? It will be so boring. It will be so cumbersome. Now, executives, particularly, I must mention this, they don't want tables full of numbers. They want answers. And that's where Power BI comes in. So we'll be importing the file. So we selected it. And remember, we saved it as cell. So I'll be needing to select this. So immediately I check this box. Microsoft Power BI gives me a preview of the file I selected so that I can confirm whether that is exactly what I'm needing. And since this particular file is already clean, we are not needing to transform it. But if the data set is dirty, then you can clean and transform data to bring those into the Power Query editor in Microsoft Power BI. But since our data is clean, we can just go ahead to load it. Okay, it's coming up. Okay. 10 rows loaded there, so it's successful. Okay, so if you look at the right hand pane, we are seeing cells. So if I click on this drop down, we will see all the columns we have. Now, if also you want to see it so clearly, on the left-hand side, we have 5 panes. This is the report view. That's this page, this canvas, where we'll be doing the reporting proper, creating visuals. This is the table view. So if you are needing to see the data set the way it is, this is the table view with all the rows. So this is the table view showing us the data we are working with. This is the model view. So assuming we are having several tables, we'll be needing to make connections. But let's jump back to the report view and answer some questions. Remember, the work of a data analyst is to solve problems. And there are questions that arose. Within these 10 days of our business, is there anything this data can tell us? Is there any information, any insight we can derive from the data? So let's take it out. Now, for us to be able to do this, we will create what we call measures in Microsoft Power BI. Now, measures are temporary calculations you create. It's not stored inside the table. It's more like a virtual calculation you create for aggregation, for deriving insights in your data. So measures are temporary. They are not stored inside your data. When you are done, they leave you. But we can also create tables. We can create columns. But for the sake of the section we are having, we will create basically some measures. And these measures are basically aggregation. So we'll be creating total revenue. And total revenue, basically we want to know how much business, how much money the business is making. That's basically what the revenue will tell us. So I will go ahead to create a measure. So to create a measure, I must make sure I'm on the table I'm working with. You will see new measure here. So I will select new measure. I will select new measure. So I will need to give it a name. I have a DAX formula already. So add us the cast in this. So let me bring the DAX. DAX simply means data analysis expression. So this is the DAX formula that we'll be using. So this is the formula for total revenue. This is the formula for total revenue. Now you will notice that it's showing us an error. This red underline means an error. So which means that the name unit price. So this is basically what we want. So immediately I'm not seeing any red line underline means you are good to go. So when I click on this commit, that measure will be created. And for you to know it's a measure, you will see something like a calculator with the name total revenue. So we created the total revenue. So we'll go ahead to create the total profit. Like I mentioned, the revenue is good, but profit is better because businesses don't survive on revenue. They survive on profit. So let's also check the total revenue of this business within these 10 days. So I have the measure for that, for total profit. So this is the measure for total profit. So I will still make sure I select this table, then click on new measure. So I will need to paste that here. So I need to change this and make sure the name I'm having is exactly the way it is. So this is the way it should be. It must be consistent with what we have in our column. Okay, so when I commit this, another measure called total sum. The reason why I'm using sum X is that anytime you use sum with X or any formula with X, it means you are doing an iteration. So it will be calculating it row by row. So it's summation of rows to give you the answer you're looking for. So that's why I'm using the sum X. So we are done with calculating total profit and total revenue. So the next thing we can also calculate is the total units sold. So let's get that total units sold. So this is the DAX formula, the data analysis expression formula for that. So I will come again, click on the table, make sure I'm on that table. and then new measure. Then I will paste it. So long as there is no red line, it means your formula is good. So I will commit it. And another measure has been calculated. And the last measure I want us to calculate is profit margin in percentage. So let's take the profit margin in percentage. So I will still select my table, select new measure, and then paste this. So when I commit this, profit margin in percentage will come up. Not seeing what we are doing. Now, measures are virtual calculations. So for us to see measures calculated, we'll be needing a CAD visual. And you know, in every business, there is something we call KPI. KPI simply means key performance indicators. They are the metrics that managers, the executive, at a glance, when they see it, they can quickly say whether the business is moving forward or it's moving backward or is just marking time. So that's the reason why we created the measures. Measures are basically for key performance indicators. So we'll be creating the dashboard proper to tell the story that this particular data is giving us. So for each of these measures, I will create a card for them. So let me select a card. So this is a card. So the first measure is our total revenue. So this is the total revenue. It's coming up. So 41 Kenyan shillings, 41,000 Kenyan shillings. We need to also create another measure, another card. Showing another, let's create another card. And in this card, let's put our total profit. Let's also have another card. In this, let's have total units sold. So know the total units of which we sold. And then I'll click out to select another card. And in this card, let's have profit margin in percentage. So the profit margin is 0.22. Now I will need to arrange this. So I deliberately on the grid line so that we can be able to see what we are doing, making sure that everything is on the same line. That's the essence of this grid line. When we are done,
sorry, mic check, Godswill. Can you hear me?
I will remove this. So we are basically building our reports now. We are building our report. So to make this report faster, we can actually focus on one. So let me just format this. To format this, I will need to come to this section, format visual. Under format visual, this is my card. So if I'm needing to have a background, so let me off the background. Let me also off its border. And then for general, let me on the title.
Mic check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. So please, we need to round up a bit fast because of our time, so that we don't take people's time so much.
Okay. So with this, we are having the KPIs. So quickly, I will be bringing some other visuals. So let's take out revenue by product. So for that, let me use a clustered column chart. So I'm selecting a clustered column chart. So product, and then revenue. So let's also take out for profit by branch. Profit by branch. So for profit by branch, let me introduce a bar chart. So let's quickly round up on this. So let me introduce a bar chart. Okay. So let me drag it here. Total profit by branch. Total profit by branch. So this is basically what we are having. So I will need to create a slicer now. And for this slicer, I'll just create a branch slicer. And then we quickly take into. So let me bring up a slicer here. Let me look for a very simple slicer. So for this slicer, let me just put in branch. Okay, so let me reduce this. So looking at what we are having currently, you will notice that when the executive and the management, they look at this report, they can equally quickly say, okay, looking at what we have, so the total revenue is 41,000 Kenyan shillings. Our total profit, which means we're making a profit, is total of 9,000 Kenyan shillings. And total units sold is 198. And then the profit margin from the data we have is 0.22%. And then with this, we are seeing total revenue by product. So we are seeing each of the products and their contribution to the revenue. We are also seeing each of the branches and their contribution to the profit. But now, one beautiful thing about Power BI is that it allows for interactivity. So when I select a particular branch under this slider, let me say Kisimu, I will be seeing only the item that has to do with the branch Kisimu, and seeing the total revenue from Kisimu, total profit from Kisimu, total units sold from Kisimu, and all of those. If also I go down to Mombasa, to just check for Mombasa, and see the individual contribution that Mombasa is doing, if I also do the same for Nairobi, you will notice that there is an interactivity. Each action I'm taking is reflected on both the KPIs and the charts we are having. I think we can pause it here for the want of time. And if there are questions or clarifications, I think we can take that quickly. So, Mr. Olamide, can you go ahead?
All right. So that is just a brief on what data analytics is, right? So I actually want us to actually say thank you to Godswill on the call, right? He actually showed us a raw Excel file, processed it on Excel, moved it to SQL, cleaned it up in Power BI, and you could probably see data from Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu. He made it very, very, very relatable, right? So I will actually want us to actually say thank you to Godswill on the call, right? I mean, it's not easy having people like Godswill, you understand, taking their time painstakingly walk us through these things, right? Please, on the call, I want you guys to actually appreciate Godswill by writing thank you in the chat box, right? Also, if you have questions, please and please, you can ask your questions. I will just try and take just 2 questions because our time is fast spent, right? So please and please, if you have questions, kindly notify us in the chat box. Dennis, are you there? Hi, Dennis, are you there? Hi, Olivia, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Please, if there are any questions in the chat box, kindly notify me if I'm missing anything.
All right.
Yes. So if there are no questions, there's something that I always want people to know when it comes to sessions like this, right? Everybody was once a beginner, right? So we have what we call real people, real stories, right? These are people like each and every one of us that just took the bold step and started their learning journey with Axiom, right? So, I mean, with the little time that we spent on this call, I'm sure we've learned a bit of some things of what a data analyst does. What Godswill has actually showed us on this call is the tools, Excel, SQL, and Power BI, right? So this is from Kunle. He said, at Axiom Wawari, I found a truly supportive and intellectually stimulating environment, one that pushed me to unlearn, relearn, and broaden my understanding of data analytics. Hello, the tech world, a new learner has arrived, right? We all can learn these things. So if you're keen, if you're curious about data analytics, right? Trust me, right? Register with Axiom, will get you started, right? This is somebody that has learned through Axiom, and I mean today is reaping the benefits. And also, you need to understand that the data course, the data analytics program, is being certified by the Institute of Analytics, right? So it's not that they're just training you, right? Axiom as a company has partnered with top organizations to make their learning accredited, right? Also, we have other people that has gone through a different program, right? So there's a lot of testimonies that, I mean, through the Axiom community and all of that, people that started just as beginners and they've really made so much progress about their tech journey, getting hired, and so much and so forth. I don't know if I could probably play this because of time. I think I'll just skip this. Okay, so let me just skip this, right? So, one thing people should understand is, right, when you enroll with Axiom, right, you are enrolling with a certified training institution, right, which is being certified by NITA, certified by CompTIA, certified by Institute of Analytics, and a lot of other accreditations under the belt of Axiom. And what are the benefits that you tend to have, right? You have access to training professionals. You get to understand the principles, right? You eliminate trial and error. We had a call here, we had a professional on the call like Godswill, right? There was no trial and error. We saw what it did and we saw the results and we saw the data sets, right? With Excel, SQL, and Power BI, right? We saw the data sets. So, you also get to have mentors, course mates, and a lot of other things. Also, what is working now? It is always very important that in your tech journey, you are learning with what is working now. Then also the juicy part, which is a certificate that is recognized everywhere, right? Also, you have access to internships. Yeah, so at Axiom, right, there's what we call a learning map, right? And our motto is to learn, innovate, inspire. Right? If you can see my screen very well, it said every expert was once a beginner, right? And across different programs, we have the coding school, the product school, data analytics fall under the data and security school, and also we have the AI school, right? And in terms of experience, we have what we call the TAP program, we have mentorship, we have team projects, we have internships, right? So see the Axiom by Walore as a community that it's involved in your 360 human capital development, from learning to earning. Yeah, so like I said, right, the Axiom progress is learn, inspire, innovate, and build, right? So there's no better time to start if you're interested in coming into tech, if you're interested in data analytics, than getting started now. Right. So, I mean, across different programs, if you can see my screen, Axiom offers different programs, right? But for the essence of this call, right, which is data analytics, right, the fee is 50,000 Kenya shillings, and the classes runs for 8 weeks. So imagine what we've learned under an hour, Now imagine what you are going to learn in 8 weeks, the kind of project you will actually be working with, what you'll be churning out, right? So that is why it is important that you are not learning scatteredly. You are enrolling in a certified academy to actually help you with your learning journey. So if you are keen on data analytics, if you are keen on getting started in data analytics, which it will touch on Excel, SQL, and Power BI, right? This is just 50,000 Kenyan shillings, and it is going to go for 8 weeks. Right. For the purpose of everybody to know, the next cohort is going to start in August. For the purpose of this call, it's going to start August 24th. So if you're looking at getting started, right, you can reach out to people. You can check our Instagram, our website, axiomwalure.com, right, and sign up to book your slot in the next cohort. Yeah, so if there are no further questions, I will say thank you everyone for joining this call. I believe we've gained so much and learned so much from each and every one of us here, right? So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Before we go, Tesley, are you still on the call?
Yes.
All right. I guess you might want to say something to yourself.
Can you, about career opportunities in data analytics, what are some of like the entry level roles that someone can apply after learning the data analytics?
So, I mean, it starts from being like will I call it an internship, like a data analyst intern, right? You can call it a data entry position, right? Also, it's as good as you're entering data across multiple organizations. So there could be data, right? You saw the simple data that we worked with on the call. You can have those data and just have to clean them. What we mean by cleaning them is making them organized, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the data analyst, it means just eliminating unnecessary information that is going to make the data very, very noisy, right? So those are just a few things that you can get started in as a data analyst. The more your skills, the better your skills, right? The more projects and assignments and duties and roles that you can take on.
Okay.
Right. Any other
And
question?
yes, with like the AI, with the technology now, it's becoming more advanced. Will the role of like data analyst change? Ama, what skills will remain valuable with someone who is a data analyst?
Yeah, so the thing about AI is, right, AI is not meant to take away the job role of a data analyst, right? AI is just meant to support it. And for us to actually know what's up is that, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
data comes behind the AI integration part, right? So most AI platforms that you see, right, have collected so much data that whatever information that they are giving you is from the data that has been collected, cleansed, machined, and churned out, right? So as a data analyst, trust me, AI cannot take your job.
Okay.
Okay, can I add a statement to that?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, now this is the data age. So even your AI is depending on data analysts because it is the data professionals that collect the billions, if not trillions of data they use in building the large language models like your ChatGPT, your Google Gemini. So what basically AI will be doing for a data analyst is basically to enhance what you are doing. When I use the word enhancement, for instance, you are needing to write 20 lines of code. AI can actually help you do that, and you focus on the thinking and then the professionalism involved in the data analysis work. So there is no fear about AI. It's just an integration. Currently, Microsoft have what we call the Copilot, which does help you, seamlessly do work manually. would have taken you very long time to do. So just see AI like a student. You know how to, let me say, solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. But now you have a calculator that helps you run fast. So the calculator is not coming to do the solving for you. You're only leveraging in the calculator to make your work fast. And that's what AI does for a data analyst. Thank you.
All right. Hope that clarified your questions, Tesley.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? Yeah. So if there are no further questions, I want to say that the next watch is going to start August 24, and the fee for the data analytics program is 50,000 Kenyan shillings. We'll be touching on Excel, SQL, and Power BI. For everyone that has joined from different parts of the world, I want to say a big thank you. Thank you for joining this session. Thank you for tuning in, and hope you got value from this session. Right. So you can just follow us across our social media pages, and you get more information on how to get started into tech and into the world of data analytics. Thank you, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers.